Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the build of the week, and the build of the week for this week is going to be the Shadow Dragon Saga. Now I don't choose these, I kind of put them in a bit of a randomization tool to get them, and I think Shadow Dragon Saga is actually a pretty interesting one because it's a category that gets like buffs somewhat infrequently. And you know, it's probably the smallest saga, I would say, outside of Saiyan Saga, so it's very interesting. It's also the only GT saga we have. We don't have Baby Saga, and we don't have, you know, the Super 17 saga, understandably as well. Both of them are very short, so it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, basically, to take a look at the Shadow Dragon Saga, there's not too much on the JP side that's not on global. I think the only unit that's technically on global is the Strength, LR, Goku Kid and Vegeta, and the Tech, Ice and Nova Shenron. The rest are all on global right now. The best lead for this category is still the physical EZA Omega Shenron until we get Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's EZA, which they seem to be holding back on, which is fine for me. I love that card, so I hope he gets a crazy one. But yeah, your sub-leads are generally your physical Nova's Shenron and your Int Oceanish Shenron as well. And your free-to-play options are pretty limited, but you have a great one in the form of the Int LR Shadow Dragons. So these guys are pretty good. Overall, I think the category is not bad if you have the right units. The only major unit that I'm missing currently on global side is the physical LR Super Saiyan 4 Duo, and they're quite a significant missing piece. They are obviously an exceptional unit still, and they would make a great option to run on this team. They don't lead Shadow Dragon Saga, but they are a very strong option. Beyond that, we're not missing pretty much any of the significant pieces, so I would say from that aspect we're looking pretty good. If you do have them, obviously you want to use them, so take everything I say in this video with that understanding in mind. Now, in terms of links, obviously GT is a link that's going to be standard across the category, and this is good. GT is a strong link, it's very powerful, it link levels well, it becomes attack and defense of 10%, which is very strong. And the fact that both the Super and Extreme class has it means that there's at least some level of synergy you can get away with. If you're building an extreme team, you have the Shadow Dragons link, which is exceptional. By the way, attack of 20% and defense of 20%. It's literally another version of Big Bad Bosses. And speaking of Big Bad Bosses, all these Sin and Omega Shenrons all have Big Bad Bosses. So you can see if you're building an extreme team, there's a lot of value in link leveling. In fact, I think Sin Shenron and Omega Shenron are some of the best units to link level. If you link level GT, Shadow Dragons and Big Bad Bosses, you can change your start of turn defense by literally over 60% from your passes, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. It's really nuts. On the super side, it's a little bit more inconsistent. There's some fusion SS4s and standard SS4s that are being used, so there's kind of a little bit of decrease in synergy there, but shocking speed is quite common. Over in the Flash is there, Super Saiyan's definitely common, Fierce Battle is common, and like I said, GT fortunately is also fairly common. Saiyan Raw is also very solid from the SS4 side, but of course the Fusion SS4s don't have these, except for the physical LR, who has all the best prerequisite links for a Super Saiyan 4 based unit. So I would say in general, the team links well, and you can actually make a pretty decent super extreme class hybrid depending on, you know, what you've got. So very excited to actually look at that overall. In terms of subunits outside of the big name units like Tech Gogeta, Int Gogeta, the LRs, the LRSS4s, and obviously the kind of Omega Sin Shenron combos, there's not a lot here. There's not a decent pan. I think they could definitely incorporate a much better version of Shadow Dragon Saga Pan, and yes, there is an Ice and Nova Shenron on the JP side, But I do think they could do a little bit more with the actual dragons. I feel like they could bring out another Oceanus, Easiatus Oceanus. They definitely need a better standalone Nova. They still need a standalone Ice Shenron. I think there's a lot that they can actually do, which for me would be better. Vegeta as well, I think they could do better. But they do have the Strength Allah, who's very solid. And I think overall, at its full peak, at its full capacity, this team is still really top tier. I mean, if I had the physical LR, I would say this team can quite easily clear through red zones, with its current build. But I think with a couple of easy A's and maybe 1 or 2 units, it could definitely be top tier. They need a Pan, they need an Ice Shenron, they need an easy A for Oceanus, and then we're starting to really look super solid. We have a great Omega Shenron, who's still good to this day in the physical one, and we have a great Tech Sin Shenron in the form of the Orb Changing one. So I don't think there's kind of a need to get too crazy with the augments and buffs. I think there's enough to really make this team work. One thing I do want to kind of mention, because it is important to mention to a certain extent, is that yes, there is kind of this idea that Shadow Dragons is obviously a hybrid team between the GT bosses and the GT heroes. Now it's important to understand that this definitely is the case. Shadow Dragons encompasses obviously a bit of the GT bosses and the GT heroes team, but it obviously also doesn't have certain significant components of those teams. For example, GT heroes has the transforming in inverted commas Goku Kid and Vegeta, the 2 GT heroes leads, whilst also having a couple other different variant forms of Trunkses and Pans. The DB trio, the DBGT trio, a lot, for example, is under GT heroes. Whereas GT bosses also features obviously Resurrected Cell and Frieza, Baby, and also Super 17, along with a Rildo. So GT bosses does have more expansive scope overall, but I feel like Shadow Dragon Saga, although being small, actually has a very concentrated level of power, which I find to be very good. So yeah, we'll obviously take a look at them throughout the weekend, but let me know your thoughts about the Shadow Dragon Saga down below. Till then, bye.